In August, Hardy Party 5.5 went to New York City. Now, we've been there before, but this was the first time we took a food walking tour. Scooter, you're the mastermind behind this. How'd you find it?
Well, I actually just looked up food and walking tours, and I wanted to do it in Brooklyn because that's where we were staying, and I wanted to stay local. It was the last day of our trip, and we were going to fly out late from New York around 7 p.m., so we wanted something to do during the day. And we didn't want to do the touristy stuff. That was one of the main things we didn't want to do on this trip. We've done the Empire State Building, we've done Rockefeller Center, we've done all that. So we really wanted to do, other than the Broadway stuff, we wanted to do stuff we'd never done.
Yeah.
So we had definitely never done this, and it was awesome.
It was so awesome. What I was not prepared for was to go in like delis and try like the most fresh pita. Also, the bagel and lox. Oh my goodness, it was so
Okay, on that
delicious.
one, I'm just going to have to say bagel.
Yeah, he's not
I
a huge
may have
lox.
taken the locks off and handed it to you.
He
But the
did.
bagel was very tasty.
No, it was very good. It was such a wide variety of food. That's actually kind of what blew me away. What blew me away the most, though, was our tour guide, Jessie. She was phenomenal. She's with WeVenture USA, and we caught up to her for an interview with her. She's great. Here she is. Thank you for joining Hardy Party 5.5. You are our,
Thank
our
you.
favorite tour guide of all times.
Oh,
Yes. So
thank
tell us
you.
a little bit. We were fortunate enough to go on the Brooklyn food tour with you. Tell us how you got into being a tour guide.
Well, first, just thank you so much for having me and thank you for that acknowledgement. I so appreciate it. This won't sound super original, but like so many people, I came to New York to be an actor, still at it. And in 2008 into 2009, I went on tour and then came back, needed a new job. So as actors, you're bouncing around from day job to day job. And I had a good friend from high school who had been a tour guide for some time, and she always put the idea in my head, and I was never quite sure how I would make it work because it is a good amount of prep time, especially in New York City, to go into being a guide, and that's prep time that you're not compensated for. So how do you finagle that and make that work? And in 2010 into 2011, I buckled down, took the test, started working for a bunch of different companies. And it was one of those jobs where I fell in love with it as I was doing it. And your first couple times giving a tour, whether it's a multi-day tour or a walking tour, can be incredibly horrifying and terrifying because you don't know everything. You want to know, you're going to know a lot, but you don't know everything. And folks want you to know everything, which is fair. You paid for a tour. And it's one of those positions where you do learn a lot by being willing to make mistakes and by being willing and wanting to learn while working. But what makes me so grateful to have this role that I've now had for 15 years is that I'm paid to learn. I'm paid to discover and learn. And I think that's one of the best gifts in any industry. So.
Yeah. I think that makes so much sense that you're an actor because that's probably why you're such a great tour guide. I mean, because you're good at storytelling, and you make it flow and move. And I mean, that's part of that. I think that served you well, obviously.
Thank
And
you.
that's interesting because I think, when we take tours, like, I think I would be okay with a tour guide saying, you know what, I don't know that,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it probably on your end might feel uncomfortable. Like,
I
I really want to
agree.
have all the answers.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I'm fortunate in that I work as the manager here in New York. So I now train tour guides and I bring in new tour guides. And I say that to tour guides all the time. I say, if someone asks you a question you don't know, do not make up an answer, no matter how much you think you are clever, no matter how much you think you're great, because a lot of actors become tour guides. So, no matter how good you think you might be at improvising or coming up with something quippy, everybody's got a Google phone. Like
Yeah, I was going to say Google can get
everybody's,
you.
yeah, everybody's gonna look it up. And I was giving tours before the time of iPhones, believe it or not, or before the time that everybody had iPhones. And yeah, but even then, everybody can Google you on the spot. And
Yeah.
I've learned the hard way what it is to be called out on giving a fact incorrectly. It is 10 times worse. It is so much worse than just saying, I don't know that.
I don't know.
And
Yeah.
and I often will thank people for bringing something up that I don't know, I'll say, you know what, I don't know that. Thank you. I appreciate you bringing that up. I'm going to look that up because you've just added to my, you know, to my looking and to my research. And usually people don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you mentioned you took a test. What kind of test did you take?
So in New York City, you have to be licensed to be a guide. So you have to
Okay.
take a test at the Department of Consumer Affairs.
Oh.
And when I took it, and that used to be required in DC as well, and it's not anymore. There was some sort of someone in the tourism industry, I believe, found a loophole having to do with First Amendment rights, which is just kind of interesting. So they don't have to take a test anymore.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is. And I don't know if DC's test was more around facts than safety protocol, but a lot of New York's test is around safety protocol. And so if you are a tour guide, which I've done, not with you guys, but if you're a tour guide who's on a coach bus or a motor bus, there's very specific, you know, traffic rules and safety protocol that you just have to know. And then there's also a lot of historical questions as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Okay, and you mentioned research. Like in the stuff we do, I'm the researcher. I like looking stuff up and finding new facts. So
You like finding weird facts.
yeah,
I do too.
Yeah. So what does your research look like? Does the company give you anything to go off of, or is it all just your research?
It's me mostly,
Yeah.
and most so for this particular company, we venture and we have a partnership with Intrepid, as you all know. What we do is we provide, and I wrote most of these, I provide guides with what we call tour notes. And with tour notes, there's specific places you're supposed to hit, there's venues you got to go to, and vendors you have to speak about. And then there's bullet point facts, or actually it's more bullet point links. And then guides can choose to do as much research or as little research as they want. And they, you know, if they want to, they can go rogue and find other sites that are not listed in the outline. And so it's really up to them. Now, not every company is like that, but what I really love about this company is that it gives guides a lot of freedom and independence to do the research they want to do and to really make the tour their own. So no matter who you do our walking tours with, you're going to get a very distinct experience, but you're going to get a very passionate, personal experience. Like on my tour, I talk about, you know, I take you guys by the Mosaic House. That was something that I found on my own. It wasn't part of the tour. I was just wandering down that street and I saw this house that was a work of art. And I just said, oh my gosh, we have to include this. And that, her story about that house is very personal to me. I find it very personally beautiful. And so I enjoy telling that story. So we give guides full reign to do that. You should not be a tour guide if you don't enjoy doing this sort of research. And if you don't enjoy, you know, learning about not just history, but learning about your community and learning about what's around you, it'll be a very, very tedious and torturous job if you don't like doing it. It's just the truth. I mean, it'll be awful if that's something you don't enjoy.
Yeah. Sure.
Well, and the house was cool because you started with it, and when you did that, I'm like, she really knows this neighborhood. Like I wasn't expecting this, and it made me think, oh, okay, Jessie really knows what's going on here. So that was a great way to start the tour.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, full disclosure. We've probably taken like 9 or 10 Segway tours because when we go to a new city, we want to hop on a Segway tour first thing so we can see a broad overview. And then we find, you know, we ask that tour guide, where are you eating for dinner? You know, and like figure out what the locals do. This was our first food tour. So we
okay.
Was it so amazing because it was our first? Was it so amazing because it was Brooklyn, or was it so amazing because it was Jessie? Like, was Brooklyn so special or what? Like, I will do this in every city.
I'm so happy to hear that. I mean, I'm biased, but food tours are in my opinion just the best way to experience a city, to experience a community, to experience you know, because you learn so much through food, and what's more fun than eating this distinct food, right?
Yeah.
So dare I say it's a combination of the three, I think. I
Okay.
mean, I will say very fully, I did not design this tour. So there are other tours that I feel very fortunate that I've gotten to design. The tour you came on with me, which is our Neighborhood Eats Brooklyn Brownstone tour, that was designed by our founder. And our founder lived in that neighborhood of Brooklyn and really has such a love. And this is his whole mission behind this company, which is totally in alignment with my values, which is why I'm so grateful to work for the company. But his whole mission is about really what it is to support local, not just because of the deliciousness of the food, but also what that does for a community and what that does for our economy and all of the benefits that come from warding away developers and all the benefits that come from not allowing or doing everything we can to not allow corporate America to come into a community. And so he designed the tour and he chose the food. I did add the mosaic house, but he chose the food. So part of it is that all of the food spots we go to tell specific stories. And I will say, I'll just be very honest, not every food tour does that. Some food tours across the world are just really good food, but they won't necessarily connect the food with the stories behind the vendors or the stories behind the community. So we always aim to connect the food with the stories behind the neighborhood. And then the food is just super delicious. I mean, it's
Yes.
made on site, it's made super fresh. So that's part of it. And then the other part of it is that, you know, I feel very fortunate to deliver information that I feel very connected to and passionate about. So if you have a guide, and I say this to the guides I hire, you can't teach passion. It can't teach it. You either have it or you don't. And so if you have a guide who is very driven and impassioned by the content they're delivering, then yeah, it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah.
So
I think
do food tours everywhere. Yay.
yeah, we're going to do them everywhere. Here's what I wasn't prepared for. We can walk down the street and go, we're going to eat at that pizza place. We're going to eat at this. I'm not going to walk in the deli. Like I would have probably never, like I'm not purchasing anything. I don't live there. I don't have any reason to take that food anywhere with me. I'm not
Yeah.
going to walk in the deli. And so those little bits, like the grocery store, I'm just going to walk in that grocery store. I don't have any reason.
Yep.
So I was totally unprepared and like mind blown about those places. Like they were places I wouldn't have walked into on my own, and restaurants I would walk into on my own. So
Yeah.
that was like extra, like, I don't know, just pushed it over the edge for me. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah. This is the first company, because I've been a guide for 15 years, but I've been with this company for 3 years. And this was the first company where when I was trained on these tours, guides who were prior managers were taking me into grocery stores too. And I was like, we're going to grocery stores as part of our food tour? What's that about? But then it had me have a whole nother awareness for myself as a New Yorker. I've been here 20 years and I kind of take for granted the fact that we have a Middle Eastern grocery store or, a Thai grocery store. And if you go out to Jackson Heights in Queens, it's one of the most diverse neighborhoods in the world. It's over 160 languages just in that neighborhood. Wow. It's just really incredible. But there's there's an Indonesian grocery store and a Mexican grocery store. So, while it might not be the most high-end offering to have a food sampling from a grocery store, which is not what we do, at least to get an understanding of, we actually have grocery stores like where people from those who are part of those cultures, from those communities, go and do their food shopping just to understand that that's part of our food scene in New York.
And you did a good job, like the meat companies, the butchers helped the stores. Like that was cool to hear how the whole neighborhood is helping sell their stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would have to do more research before I make this, an ironclad statement, but I do think it is a rarity in our country now. I don't think you see that many communities, unless you were to go to very, very rural villages or something, but I don't think you see many cities where the local restaurant gets their bread from the local bakery and
Right,
everybody's
yeah.
working together. But Brooklyn, various neighborhoods in Brooklyn have really held on to that, or they've revolved back to that. Like they started as that and it was lost, and then they've come back to it. And I just find that really moving that there's still neighborhoods. And New York is a collection of many, many, many neighborhoods. I think that's what so many people might not know when they come to New York, especially if you're spending most of the time in Times Square, but New York is 5 boroughs full of neighborhoods, and people know each other and support each other.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Well, and I'm big on local because whenever we travel, we try to stay away from the Starbucks and all that. We want to go to the local place where just someone is doing their thing. And you really, just like the food tour, you get a taste, you literally get a taste, right? You get a taste of what the neighborhood's like. And that's when I'm traveling, that's what I want to do. I just don't want to see the touristy stuff. I've seen all the touristy stuff, I feel like. I want to see like what the neighborhood's really about.
Yes.
Okay, so as a tourist, like what makes or breaks a good, like as a tourist, give us some tips on how we should help you as the guide. Like what makes like a great tourist in a group? Do you know what I'm saying? Like have you you've probably had some maybe not great tourists, like I don't know, but like what should we be doing as tourists?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for asking that question. That's very kind, because we are, and thank you for being conscious travelers. And it takes a very conscious human and a conscious consumer to have these kinds of conversations. So I so appreciate it. For me, I mean, the first one is very basic, but also not something we should take for granted, which is just keep traveling. We all of us in tourism who work in tourism in one way or another experienced unemployment for a year during COVID, some of us longer than a year. And so for me, I really thought that tourism was going to be completely non-existent. I even pursued a whole other career track during COVID because I thought, well, we're kind of going to be done for a while, even if we start to come back and things start to open again. Do people feel safe to travel? And luckily and I don't want to get political, but luckily we did get into a place where vaccines happened, and vaccines happened pretty quickly. And so we still had vax rules in New York City for quite some time, but most people, New York City folks, obliged by them, and most travelers obliged by those rules. And so we made it work. I mean, the fact that we reopened with tours in summer of 2021 was pretty incredible. So just never stop traveling. That's first and foremost. I think that makes for a better world, that makes for a better society. When we travel, we understand other cultures, we understand each other, we connect to each other. I've had quite a few people in New York City who have different views than me and come from different backgrounds than me, and we can have a conversation, and we can have a decent one, which so much of our news is about how divided we are. Well, not necessarily if people travel. That's my view. That's my take on it. So that's the other part. And then on an actual tour, on an actual walking tour, and or a day-long tour, whatever you might experience, guides actually, for the most part, really love when people engage. We love when people ask us questions. We love when people are taking an interest in what we're saying. And even if we're challenged, it's great. I would say what makes it tricky is when it's very obvious that folks don't want to be there. And we'll make it work. I'm always grateful to have anyone on a tour. I'm always grateful to have customers on a tour, of course. And so we'll make it work. And then, there's definitely instances where it's pretty obvious if someone's on their phone the whole time, or if somebody's just sort of disconnected. Not a problem if what we're saying is not of interest to you. But if you're not interested in going on a walking tour, do something else. There's plenty of other activities too.
Yes.
But I think sometimes what I find is so many customers who ask a lot of questions sometimes they'll apologize and say, sorry, am I being annoying? And I say, no, this isn't annoying. Like, please engage. We enjoy, that's what we want. Otherwise, we're talking into kind of a blank, dead space or dead air in a way. And
yeah, that's good. Yeah. Okay. Final question.
Yeah.
Where's the one place Jessie wants to go that she hasn't been yet?
Oh my God. Oh, okay. There's so many, but I keep talking about Australia.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say either Sydney or Melbourne, either of those places. And it's because over New York summer, we get so many Australian travelers because it's their winter. And then I I start talking to them about New York, but then I end up asking them questions about Australia, and I end up learning so much about Australia. And then I just am aching to go. And I think for us as Americans, with our limited vacation time and with how far away it is, it just feels like this distant land that I might never get to, and I'm always yearning to get to. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot on that list, but that one's definitely high up there.
Yeah, we had those Australians.
We had Aussies, yeah.
Right, we had Aussies on the tour with us.
Yes,
yeah,
we actually stayed with them. We walked with them. We went on the train with them. And it was delayed by like 30 minutes. There was something happening down there. So we were just hanging out down there chatting with them. And now we're Facebook friends. Yes.
I love that. And see, I love that. That makes me so happy. I always tell guides, like, you kind of know that you've done your job if people on the tour become friends with each other. That's what I aim for, is for everybody to come together and communicate. So that makes me that makes me so happy. And they're such adventurers, Australians. Like, they're always traveling, they're always going places for 4 to 6 weeks. They're just going everywhere. So I love their spirit too.
Yeah, it's amazing.
They're always so chill. Like, I don't know.
You're so chill.
Australian that is stressed out.
Yeah,
they're never.
I know, and it's because they travel a lot. I mean, that's my theory, but I think it's because they have proper vacation time. They explore a lot. They travel a lot. They understand work-life balance. I think, we could all learn a lot from them.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, my goal in life is to get on another one of your tours. I don't know, where I'm going to find you again, but like, we're going to make that happen at some point. So
thank you. Of course, I'd love to have you back. Well, we're WeVenture.com, and our partner is Intrepid. I don't give tours anywhere outside of New York because I'm all about, knowing my home and my place. But I promise our guides across the country work just as hard as me.
Yeah.
So, awesome.
That's good. All
right. Cool. Thank you.
Jessie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
It's great to see your beautiful face again.
Yeah.
I told you she was great.
She is great.
That's right. And WeVenture USA is a great company to work with.
And we follow them on Instagram now, and it's so cool to see all the updates from everyone across the country, all the tour guides showing us what's going on. If you're going to a major city in the U.S., you need to use WeVenture USA. Yeah. Because they are awesome, and they're going to show you everything you need to see in the city you're going to.
That's right. Hardy Party 5 1/2, over and out.
We'll see you next time.